Hello, and thanks for joining us for this week's film show on Encore. Coming up. Germany's currently playing host to the great and the good of the movie industry, with the Berlinale in full swing. We'll be crossing over to film critic Emma Jones to give us the latest direct from the festival.
I'm gonna build you a house.
The marriage that launched a quiet revolution. Jeff Nichols' latest film, Loving, revisits racial segregation in the US.
The power vested in me.
And French actor and director Guillaume Canet sends himself up in a merciless, comical portrait of the artist as a middle-aged man in rock and roll. We're starting our show in the German capital, where one of Europe's big three film festivals is well underway. I'm talking about the Berlinale, of course. It's known for its erudite selection of features, but also for its record-breaking public attendance rates, with hundreds of thousands of people catching a screening. And among those film fans, reporter Emma Jones is at the festival. Emma, hi. I believe that as well as cinema, politics has been high on the agenda this year.
Well, in the current political climate, it's no big surprise, really, that the film industry is lining up to criticise the rise of right-wing populism in general and Donald Trump in particular. The actor Richard Gere has been here at the Berlinale. Now, he's in a film called The Dinner, and he's playing a politician, but he really wanted to talk politics far more than about the film. He met with the German leader Angela Merkel while he was here, and he called Germany the centre of the free world, not the USA. And he also praised her sense, and he said that she was the last one standing in terms of her tolerant policies towards refugees and immigrants.
And indeed, I believe the director of The Dinner went one step further, talking about his opposition to US President Donald Trump. Let's hear from Oren Moverman.
This movie is a form of resistance and a form of provocation that hopefully will get some sort of people's reaction to the power and what can be done about it. We're all activated now. We're all alive and breathing and feeling it, and people who have been ignoring a lot of issues all of a sudden are very aware of them. And strangely, ironically, it's good.
And coming back to the main event, cinema, of course, have there been any standout features for you so far?
Oh, there is a delicious British comedy called The Party here by the author Sally Potter, who did Orlando 25 years ago. It's little over an hour long. It's shot in black and white. It has an all-star cast, including Kristin Scott Thomas. And it's basically a look at the snobbery and the elitism of the political and intellectual class in London, and how quickly that all falls apart. When their lives fall apart, they actually become like animals. Now, Sally Potter and the actor Timothy Spall have been in Berlin. Let's hear what they have to say.
It's comedy with an edge, okay, this film. It's a little bit dark comedy, bittersweet, but I think when times are really tough, which they are now, we really need to laugh.
When things are looking grim in the world or frightened, they even make science fiction films about the imminent destruction of the world, or people get turned to humour. And there's one thing about humour, it's a massive antidote to all sorts of difficult things, because if you don't like somebody and you can't get rid of them, the best way to make people laugh about it.
Now, another standout film here for me at this festival is Call Me By Your Name, and that's a French-Italian production by the Italian director Luca Guadagnino. Now, he is on the verge of greatness. He did A Bigger Splash last year, you may recall. Call Me By Your Name is a wonderful coming-of-age gay love story. It stars Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet. They're both American stars, and it's set in northern Italy in the 1980s. Now, as well as fantastic performances, it's also probably going to do more for Italian tourism than even the talented Mr. Ripley. This is a wonderful Italian sun-soaked summer it depicts.
Indeed, there have been a lot of positive reviews about that Franco-Italian production. Let's take a look at a short clip of Call Me By Your Name.
Elio, acqua.
Bravi!
Perfect timing.
Ragazzi, dai,
What's the matter? You all right? Huh? Pinch a nerve? Okay. Here, hold this. Trust me, I'm about to be a doctor. Hey, come here. See, that's the problem. You're too stressed. You just gotta relax a little bit.
I am relaxing.
Marcia, Come here for a minute. Back me up here. Feel that. Right there? It's too tight, man. He needs to relax. Later.
You should relax more.
And Emma, I know there's an eclectic selection at Berlin, but you're noticing any themes or trends in some of the films selected this year?
I'd say there's a real confidence amongst the Germans about their history, and that's showing in the filmmaking. 10 years ago, when Oliver Hirschspiegel's Downfall was out, it was quite a big risk to talk about Hitler and to make a film about Hitler. What is interesting now is this year there's a comedy here called Bye Bye Germany, and it is really a drama comedy about the few thousand Jewish people who chose to stay in Germany at the end of the Second World War. There's also some lavish TV productions which have premieres here at the Berlinale, which I expect are going to be sold around the world. Oliver Hirschspiegel's back with a TV show called The Same Sky, and that's a spy thriller set in 1974 West Berlin. There are also a lot of German actors in a BBC production called SSGB, and that's set in an alternative look at what would have happened to Britain if the Nazis had occupied it. And I think given the success of Tony Erdmann and its Oscar nomination and the way it has played around the world since it debuted at Cannes, I think that you can no longer say that German comedy is not going to travel. There's an Austrian film here called Wild Mouse by Joseph Hader, and it's about a music critic having a midlife crisis. It's extremely funny, and I think you can no longer say that a German comedy can no longer be sold to English or French-speaking territories, for example.
Now, in the film industry, Berlin's perhaps thought of as quite a cerebral selection, but what about glamour? There must have been a couple of big stars on the red carpet.
Yes. Robert Pattinson, R-Pats as he's affectionately known, and Sienna Miller have been in town for a European blockbuster called The Lost City of Z. And it was very funny, actually. There were a lot of screams, as you can expect from the star of Twilight. But R-Pats said to me last night how nervous he was. He wasn't used to premieres anymore. He was wincing visibly as the girls were shouting. Also, Catherine Deneuve is in town, as she is almost every year for the Berlinale. She's got a French film called Sage Femme, and she added some glamour to the carpet. It's definitely maybe been lacking in huge celebrities, for example, no George Clooney or a Nicole Kidman, but that really hasn't stopped the audiences. They've been queuing around the block, just showing the appetite of this city for cinema.
That's great. Thank you very much, Emma, and do enjoy the rest of the festival. We're moving now to a film that was launched during last year's festival season. Loving, the historical drama from director Jeff Nichols, revisits the marriage that set a precedent for racial equality in the US. The film's based on the true story of Richard and Mildred Loving, a white man and a black woman who defied state law in Virginia just by living as husband and wife. The film's seen lead actress Ruth Negga nominated for an Oscar for her performance. Josh Vardy takes a look at the couple who paved the way for life-changing legislation.
I'm gonna build you a house. Right here. Our house.
A quiet history of the Lovings, a couple who reluctantly found themselves at the center of a major victory for the US civil rights movement in the 1960s. In 1958, interracial marriages were forbidden in Virginia, so Richard and Mildred traveled to Washington, D.C. for the ceremony.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
But on returning to Virginia, an anonymous tip-off led to a raid by police in the middle of the night while the couple was sleeping.
What you doing in bed with that woman?
I'm his wife.
That's no good here.
About 2 a.m. And I saw this light, and I woke up, and it was the policeman standing beside the bed. And he told us to get up, that we was under arrest.
The couple were given a suspended sentence on the condition they leave Virginia for 25 years, leaving behind their family, friends, and their land.
It's man and wife.
Richard?
The couple fought to get their marriage recognized for over 9 years. Mildred wrote to Senator Robert Kennedy and convinced him to join the struggle for civil rights.
She didn't want to be a hero. It wasn't what she set out to do. She just thought it was right. What a brave woman.
Thanks to their lawyers' support, the Lovings managed to get widespread media coverage for their cause, like these photo spreads. In 1967, their case went to the Supreme Court, which eventually found the law forbidding interracial marriages was unconstitutional. Despite this success, The Loving story is often overlooked by the history books.
My greatest hope is that people put Richard and Mildred in their minds, that they become as important of history in the United States in the civil rights landscape as Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks.
Mildred would eventually live for over 20 years longer than Richard, who died in a tragic car accident in 1975. Now, the film Loving hopes to ensure the legacy of these ordinary heroes and their marriage that changed US history.
We're finishing with a new release in France this week. Rock and Roll is Guillaume Canet's send-up of his own life. The actor and director has taken aim at the clichés attached to a particularly Parisian sort of midlife crisis, and he's joined by actress Marion Cotillard as his not-so-fictional movie star partner. We'll leave you with a clip. Remember to check out our website for more culture news, and you can also keep up with Encore on our social media channels. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Bonsoir. Quand je vais dire à ma mère que je vous ai rencontré, elle va être comme une dingue, quoi. Ah ouais. Je vous souhaite une longue et belle fin de carrière. Salut. Merci, au revoir. Petit connard.
Il le mérite tellement, Pierre. Moi, j'avais l'impression de voir Yves Saint Laurent.
Tu l'as connu, toi, Saint-Laurent?
Pas plus que ça.
On va fermer ta gueule, alors. Qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Je me demande un peu ce que je fais là, en fait.
Nous sommes là pour en parler. Ça fait envie, mais ça peut effrayer aussi.
Bonjour tout le monde. Oh putain, Guillaume.
Mais pourquoi t'as fait ça?
Putain. Je peux pas te regarder.
You are here. Your